Hi Dirk, great to have you here today. Very happy to have a dialogue today a little bit about the latest political environments and how Germany, Europe and international market is evolving. You are the Vice President for Market Access in BMS, Bristol Myers, and I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Herbert. I'm the Vice President for Market Access in Germany. So, you're right. This is an uncertain situation all over the world, probably, but particular now in Germany. There is a lot of things are going on about politically, but also for market access in particular.
Yeah, now interesting times, and we see already since quite some time that there are some legislations which are rolled out, like the EU HTA, which has the intention to reduce bureaucracy, to make more give more patients access to innovative medicines. How do you see this development, Germany and Europe, in this context to bring innovation to patients?
No, it's a completely game changer. So everyone is awaited for the European centralized assessment. If you have seen this, the joint assessment on the European level, which is great now. On the other side, I think it's a beginning process. We are at the beginning, and to be quite honest, I would say yes, we see a centralized assessment which starts with oncology in 2025, as you have seen here. And on the other side, there is in parallel a process also on a national level, which is the HTA process, as you know.
Yeah. I think that's an important topic that you mentioned. There is a European process, joint clinical assessment, and we are awaiting the first reports coming out this springtime. But at the same time, if this regulation is implemented with impact, also the national organizations have to adapt to it. How do you see the German healthcare system adapting to this European situation?
Yeah, it was a long process to accept it, but if you look behind the scenes, I would say the European methods, for example, on an HTA level, is more copy-paste. It's my personal opinion, to be honest, from the German system, because it's based on the methods of the EQUIC paper, as you know probably, and so we are very close to this European process. However, they have accepted and they have adjusted the European level. Nevertheless, they have also, or they keep the freedom, the GBA, the HTA body, keep the freedom to say, okay, we would like maybe in some cases we will need additional analytical things, methods, endpoints, and that makes the things a bit more complicated because you have the double work, as I said before.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a big risk that the redundancy is not really eliminated, and we know it's a learning process right now, meaning that we are waiting how the first assessments are going, and then how the JCA reports will be considered on a local level. So also, especially as GBA has mentioned that they will consider the JCA report. They will maybe have less requirements for the manufacturers in the German process, but nevertheless, it's not really known how much additional requests they may have, or?
No, that's true. That's exactly the uncertainty for us as a company, because we are at the beginning, I would say, in a pilot phase. It's not a pilot because it's already written down in some in some statements and methods. However, we have no experience now. We are learning. This is a learning system for all of us. Some companies are faster. We have the first companies who went through this process. We do not know what kind of requests will be considered by the GBA in this joint clinical assessment. Nevertheless, I think they will not consider again, or we will the joint clinical assessment outcome for the in the German process. But as you said, this is important. We do not know exactly what they would like to see from us.
Yeah, no, I think a lot is, of course, depending on the picoscoping and what then finally, what kind of picos the manufacturer will get in the JCA process, because then if they are reflecting the German system, it will be less requirement, and if they are not reflected, which we don't expect, then it will be more. But yeah, will be very interesting phase, and we are looking forward to see this coming up. From a company perspective, what would be one of your requirements to the German healthcare system to adapt with this new geopolitical ecosystem, which is maybe not only EU HTA, but which is also the American MFN and other stuff?
It's a good question. I think from my point of view, I would say we need to speed up here a bit, because in the end, I think if we have a centralized system like the joint clinical assessment on the European level, this will be very helpful for all the pharmaceutical industries in the future, because you have a very clear guidance what they would like to see. I think the challenge is on the national level, they give up their competence. Mm-hmm. They don't want to see any longer that they have to accept outcomes on the European level. This is a bit difficult, and on the other side, this is divided in two parts. This is first of all the assessment, but the pricing negotiation or the pricing setting is in the hand of the national level. So which makes a bit complicated and not easy for the national SIG funds, or maybe also for the GBA or for the HTA bodies to let them go on the European level. That's probably the challenge, but in the end, coming to your point, I would say we need to come in this direction. We need to see that the joint clinical assessment will be the only assessment that makes life easier for the pharmaceutical industry.
No, very good. You mentioned speed, of course. In many European countries, we see that patients get innovative drugs only after 12, 15, 18 months, because it takes so long to go with them through the pricing and reimbursement process. In Germany, that's different, because Germany manufacturer can more or less launch and start the process 1 week after after EMA approval. So then the JCA report will come and will be considered. So what else next to speed you would hope that is implemented in Germany to leverage this process?
No, we have a good process established, as you said. I think we are in most of the cases for all the pharmaceutical, the first launch country. We have reimbursement as of the first day of launch. Mm-hmm. We have a clear process described and established on a national level. We have in advance now the European clinical assessment, which is quite challenging for the companies because timelines are very short. Yes. To bring in, particularly if you come in with maybe some changes in your regulatory strategy, then you need to establish in a short notice the new label and how you will consider this one on a national level or even on a joint clinical assessment on the European level. So there are some challenges for us, but all in all, I think Germany is it's one of the best countries to launch because we have, as of first day, we have a reimbursement. We have no waiting time. Patients can have access at the first day of launch to all these innovative medicines. For patients, it's great, I think.
Yeah, this is what I also hear from other companies, that fast launching, of course, price from the beginning, and a big market as well. So Germany is one of the biggest markets in Europe. Now, since 2022, I think we have these guardrails implemented.
Yeah.
What do you think about them? Are they acceptable or helpful to develop this situation?
It's a fair question. I think in 2011 we established this called AMNOG, HTA process. And I think it's after a while everybody accepted this kind of process, and in 2022 Financial Stabilized Act stepped in under the leadership of the health minister, Mr. Lauterbach. They changed it. And this was a quite new area for the pharmaceutical industry because a value is not any longer a value under this Financial Stabilized Act. Because if you have a minor additional benefit, it means if the appropriate comparator is a branded one, you need to accept a additional discount of minus 10%, which is unfair because if you have an added benefit, it doesn't play a role, it's a minor or a considerable, it's an added benefit. You have a high innovative product on the market. And this needs to change. And we hope that we see some willingness to change here in the current pharma dialogue, which is triggered by MFN in Germany now.
Okay, so there is a platform to discuss with different healthcare system stakeholders these kind of challenges, and do you have the feeling that the pharma dialogue is preparing for a future which makes Germany attractive, which makes Europe attractive in this geopolitical environment?
I guess we need to come back where value is a value in the end. So, and this is the framework where we would like to see from the government, and this is off top of the agenda in this pharma dialogue, a part of many other things which is on the agenda currently, but this is the most important one because otherwise I see the risk that Germany will lose attractiveness for the investments from the pharmaceutical industry, but also for R&D developing. So I give you a good example. I think a couple of years ago in R&D range, Germany was on number 3. Now we are number 7. Spain have bypassed us, is number 1 for investments, for study designs and looking forward. And this is it's a strong signal that we need to speed up here. We need to change something in the systems. I think the government has recognized this. Hopefully they will come back to some new roles or new guardrails, and that's what the content of our current pharma dialogue is.
Yeah. Okay, great. No, thank you very much for this interview. I think we all agree that we need faster and more simpler access for innovative medicine so that patients can benefit from it and clinical experts can use it. And so thank you very much for discussing today.
Thank you for the invitation. In the end, it's always the patient is in the center. So thank you.